Hello and welcome back to the channel. I've had more than my fair share of fun beating up Martin, so today I'm giving Magnus as many queens as he needs to beat me. I can't imagine it will take that many, but I'll start him off with 2 queens and add 1 each game. I'll start with d4. Hasn't failed me yet, I have no reason to think it'll fail me now. This is obviously a setup for mate in 1, so I'll just go ahead and block it with knight to f3. Queen to g7 I don't think threatens anything new. This is protected. This is more than well protected. So I think I can just continue with regular development. Knight c3 is fine. King to f8. I wonder if I can get away with h4 and then a rook lift, because I don't see any way for him to penetrate. Obviously, I could play bishop g5, for example, queen d2, long castle, blah, blah, boring. But instead, I could play h4, which looks like fun. So let's give this a try. This is the only time I would have the audacity to play h4 against the Magnus spot. So I'm taking full advantage of it. But it looks like it didn't result in all that much. So we'll continue with bishop g5, queen to e6. I'm just scanning for new threats, and I'm not seeing any new threats. Looks like everything is well grounded in my position. We'll develop with check. Bring the queen out. I really don't want to trade my own queen off too early, because it can get a little bit trickier keeping track of all the minor pieces. Get queen g7, and I'm going to go for another cheeky rook lift. I mean, I'm not losing anything by doing it, so why not? Okay, queen to g8. And let's see, obviously all of my pieces are developed, but how do I actually follow through on this? Knight to e5, centralize my knight. Looks promising, queen to b6. And it's funny too, because there's no hope chess here. Like with Martin, you can just sit and pray and he'll give you a free queen every once in a while. With Magnus, he's going to play not top engine move, but pretty darn close to it. Let's play knight c6 check and get that king out of the corner, but instead we push it deeper into the corner. Bishop f4, hits the queen, queen to f7. Okay, this knight is kind of precariously placed. Let's go ahead and drop it back. Queen to e6. I wonder if bishop c4 here works for anything. Obviously hits both queens at the same time, and I don't see how he'd get that off his back. So I'll give it a try. Bishop c4. Okay, he has to sacrifice. Excellent. Now I can trade off my queen more than happily, but instead I could even go for mate. Let's go check and check. King walks into a discovered attack, but how do I take advantage of that? Check. King goes back. Check. King comes out, check, the king takes, queen h7, maybe? King to d6, so it's not quite mate, but queen to d7 is definitely mate. Nice! All right, let's go ahead and give him 1 extra queen. All right, he's back now with 3 queens, and I don't see a reason not to play d4 again. So we'll start with d4. There's still no threats on the first move, and this time, instead of going for the f2 pawn, he just plays queen to e7, which I don't think sets up anything, so I'll keep developing. Queen to a5 is obviously check. I'll go ahead and block with the knight. Queen to b7. Let's play e3 here. It's a little more bundled up, but the problem is if I develop like a normal London system, obviously I drop b2. And I really shouldn't be playing this like a normal game anyways, because it's not. Queen to h5. Go ahead and develop bishop d3. I'm just looking for holes in my position. g2 is really the only problem I see here, but he's not able to take advantage of it, so you can't take advantage of it. Is it a weakness? I don't think so. Still can't play the bishop because of b1, or rather b2, but I'll play my rook to b1 to defend it. Okay, queen to g7, he shifts over to this side of the board, and I don't see the merit in castling if he can't even seize the center. So I'm going to play rook to g1. Queen goes back to d8, sweet, and I think the king is just going to camp out right there. I see no reason to move him at all. We'll play knight to e2 and reroute to g3. Okay, queen to a5 is check, we'll develop. We do drop the a2 pawn, but it's not the end of the world. Knight to g3. We're met with queen to b6. Okay, we've achieved the end of at least developing all of our pieces, minus castling. Obviously, this is a different kind of game. And now I just have to figure out how on earth I'm going to actually make progress here. Maybe b3, c4. Looks mildly promising. I can stick my king a little bit further into the corner, and he should be safe there. But in the meantime, we'll make progress on the queen side. Queen to b7. Doubles the queen into a pawn, unless he's anticipating this and planning on sacrificing, which I would celebrate. So I'll play c4 anyways. King to d8. And actually, I've thought about it. King to e2 might actually make more sense. King to f1 leaves the rooks disconnected. King to e2 makes way, and he should still be perfectly protected. So we'll play king to e2 right now. Queen to f6 doesn't seem to threaten anything new. Probably my only concern would be like queen to a8 and then a sacrifice. But even that is just met with d5, if it's even of concern. Or actually, bishop e4 skewers the queens. So let's play... I'm hesitant to play queen c2, even though it's definitely the next natural move. Because it offers a queen trade, so if takes, that should still be crushing for me. I can just hunker down. and basically let the rooks come over and push the pawns from behind. But it's still a little bit freaky against Magnus, but let's give it a try. Okay, we do get the queen trade, sure. Queen goes back to h8. This isn't a threat because it's defended, so let's play bishop back to d3. We're perfectly safe, as far as I can tell anyways. We'll play rook to c1. Okay, I don't see an entry point on the king side point blank at all. So we'll push on the queen side. Okay, it looks like he's just buying time and can't find a better position. If I play c5, the queen can't block because the bishop controls those squares. Cool. I just need to make sure these pawns don't get blockaded by accident. Queen to a2 is probably the idea here. Do I stop it with rook to b2 first? I would say yes. Let's stop it with rook to b2. Okay, queen to a8. There's no sacrifice on f3, obviously, so the idea must be to come in through a3. If b5, queen to a3, rook to b1, I should be hanging tight right there just fine. Okay, queen to a4, we'll go ahead and give that check. All right, king couldn't move forward because of bishop e4, so we get king to b8 instead. And let's go ahead and bring this knight into play. Okay, we get queen to a3, we'll just double our rooks like we had planned, and queen to d7. Okay, so I've left this side a little more exposed than I would like, but the truth is there's no way for him to reroute his queen back to this side of the board to actually do anything about it. Let's see, I kind of like bishop to b4, queen goes back, but then I give him options of actually rerouting in that case. Okay, let's play rook to c2, so we can actually get these pawns moving again. Okay, queen to c6, and this is the blockade that I was talking about before. I just can't let my pawns get stuck. If I play bishop e5, obviously I drop the knight. So how do I actually push these pawns further? Let's play knight back to g3. I think he was actually doing fine there and we moved him for no reason. King to c8, it looked better on e4, but it's probably more practical on g3 and f3. 1, as a blockade, and 2, as a sort of anchor for these bishops. Queen to a6 is check. If I move back, I kind of ruin the whole point of the move. King to e1 looks like my best option here. Okay, queen comes to a4. It's not actually targeting anything. This rook is defended. So what about b7 check? King moves to b8, c6. Probably has to sacrifice at that point. So we'll play check and c6. Oh, he does sacrifice. Okay, we'll go ahead and pick that up. Okay, and the queen picks up the pawn on c6. Sure. Let's play check. The bishop can now serve as the anchor. The knight anchors the bishop, and both of these pawns anchor the knight, and this pawn is defended by the other knight. All right, long story short, everybody's in a good spot. Let's play rook to c1, bringing him around. We'll give check, promote. Obviously, kind of a lazy way to do it, but it's definitely winning, and now we can just push basically any of our pawns. Somebody's got to make it to the other side. Okay, it'll be the h8 pawn. Let me make sure this isn't stalemate. Great. We cut off the king, we're doing just fine. Bishop to d5 forces king to a4, brings queen to b4, which is checkmate. Nice. All right, let's go ahead and give him one more queen. All right, we've given him one more queen, and my biggest concern isn't that he's going to somehow come up with a super awesome checkmate with all 4 queens, but more so that there's going to be a practical application at some point where he can sacrifice a queen, stay with the 3 queens that he had in the previous game, and basically clear the way with one of the queens. So just creating a setup that has a lot of defense might not be enough in this game. Let's go with something a little more simple. Let's just play knight to f3 first. Queen to e7, same as last time. And the question is, where do my pieces actually go? I'm afraid of ever developing my bishops because of these 2 pawns, but I'm not really wanting to fianchetto either because it feels like it creates a lot of central weakness. So let's play knight to c3 next. We're met with queen to a5. Is rook to b1 and rook to g1 dumb? Like, I feel like it's solid, because the knights protect the pawn and the rook on both sides, and then we can play anything in the center because the rooks defend both of the pawns. And I mean, we're playing a variant here, so it shouldn't feel so silly to play these moves, but somehow it still does. We'll play rook to g1. Let's play rook to b1, same idea. King to f8. I mean, to the point that I almost want to play a3 and h3 just to create, like, my battle fortress. But that's just unnecessary. So I think we're safe now on the king sides and the queen sides. There's no weaknesses that I can see anyways, and that's not saying much. So let's play maybe d3 and e3 now. If I play d3 and the queen sacks, takes. Whoops, that's not how the queen moves. Bishop d2 should be fine. Okay, queen goes back to d8, so we're on the right track. Let's play bishop d2 now. King to g8 doesn't really do much. And maybe I should play more aggressive now, e4, and then bishop to e2. because just keeping my pawn on e3 for no reason doesn't make any sense. First time in my life that I'm playing e4 unironically. I say unironically because I've definitely played the Bon Cloud before. Okay, we're met with queen to e6, which doesn't seem to set anything up. This is not a sacrifice of any importance whatsoever, so let's just play bishop to e2. Okay, queen to b8. I can say pretty confidently right now that there's no weaknesses in our position because he's not finding a way to take advantage of anything. So I just have to make sure that my position stays that way for the duration of the game. Question is how? It seems like the most natural exit point for my queen is somewhere on this dark diagonal. So let's play queen c1. Okay, we get queen to f7, and my hope was to kind of move this bishop out, but now I'm not sure where to, because with queen to f7, bishop to f4 doesn't work anymore. Bishop to g5 does work, but it doesn't actually accomplish anything. So maybe I'm thinking about this wrong. Maybe I should be pushing my pawns instead. I think that makes more sense, because last time, pushing my pawns put a lot of pressure on his position, and it was really hard to see how he was going to get that off his back. I'm tempted to do it towards the king side just because of the specific pawn structure that I've chosen. So I'd rather keep this as sort of the root of the position, and then on this side make my progress. So let's play h4. Okay, we're met with queen to a7. f2 is still kind of scary, so let's play bishop e3 first, really cement this side of the board. And I should probably find a way to connect my rooks at some point, which would mean creating some space in the center of the board. We get queen to c7. Nothing of particular interest has happened yet. Maybe I can play knight to g5, bishop f3, and then king e2. Problem is knight g5, queen h2. Knight h3 is kind of sketchy, but it probably works. Let's try that. Okay, queen takes, ooh. Can't take because it drops the rook. Have to take, ooh. So that was the idea of queen to c7. Unfortunate. Okay, we're going to take with the pawn. Okay, queen takes, because I want to keep pieces on the board. Bishop d1. This might already be losing for me. We get queen to d6. f4, and we just keep pushing into the position. Let's give that a try. f4. And I just have to be really aware. I was doing a good job in the first two games, and I kind of let my guard down. Kind of brushed off queen to c7 as another waiting move. And it definitely wasn't. We get queen to e8. That, I think, doesn't do anything, or at least proactively set anything up. Let's play maybe king to f2. I'd kind of like to get the rook looking at the queen at some point. So let's play king to f2 right now. Queen to a4, very bold, just leaves it right there. No concerns whatsoever, apparently. And I assume we should just keep pushing into the position, maybe h5. This drops the pawn, but I'm not going to hold on to that pawn at all. It's as good as gone in my book. Let's play h5. Okay, queen to h6 actually addresses the pawn. Bishop to f3 would kick the queen, but also drop c2. So if I play bishop e2, for example, takes, and I'm not sure that I'm actually happy with that position, so I should probably leave this just holding on to c2. I guess I can just continue with g4. That was the idea anyways, was a pawn storm. Okay, queen back to b8. I think we're doing a good job now of pushing him back into the position. Obviously, f5 is an issue because the queen drops in. Maybe we need to bring this knight back for a moment and then keep pushing. Let's play knight to f3. Okay, we get queen to d6. And what, g5? Because this pawn isn't under attack anymore. My only issue with knight to f3 was that it would cut off the bishop. So if g5, then I just drop the pawn. But after queen to d6, as long as this doesn't set up anything else, g5 should be perfectly fine. Okay, we get queen to e8. Now he's threatening the pawn. And I have a couple of options here. Knight to e5, knight to h4, knight to d4. None of which I would actually be angry about playing. Like, if it turns out one's slightly better than the other, I probably wouldn't be too mad. I'm still going to try to figure out which one's the best, though. Let's see. Knight to h5 makes the most sense to me, so I would love to drop a knight either on f5 or on g6. Whereas if I play knight to e5 or knight to e4, that's kind of the end game for them. I guess on d4 it can move to f5, but somehow it just feels better to move it towards the king side directly. I guess concretely it would be better in the center though, so let's play knight to d4. Still can't play f5 because the queen drops in. What about h6 now? Just creeping into the position. Okay, we get queen back to a6. Okay, we're obviously making progress. I mean, these pawns didn't get here by accident, but I need to actually get one to the other side. I mean, if it doesn't get to the other side, it didn't really do much by just setting up the fancy formation. Let's play knight to f5 and then bishop d4. And the reasoning is this bishop is anchored to this pawn, this bishop anchors this pawn, and then maybe I can get my queen into the game. So let's play knight to f5. Queen to g6, sure. Doesn't actually do anything new. Still can't get in through h5 because of the bishop, so bishop d4. Okay, king to f8. He's starting to scramble a little bit, is what it looks like. And just to try it on for size, what if we play rook to h1 and then just push the pawn? I know originally the plan was to get the queen into the game, and there's still ideas of like queen c1, queen a3 check. Could be uncomfortable for him, but this seems more concrete. Okay, queen to a8, push h7. Nice, we get a queen sacrifice, takes, and takes back. I celebrate that very hard, even though we haven't won anything yet, but it's a lot easier to play this than it is to play the other position. So obviously the only issue now is check, so maybe I should just play bishop f3, bishop g2. Whoops, let's make that legal. There we go, bishop f3 and bishop g2 should defend that just fine. Okay, queen to h3. I guess we can just kick him out if we wanted to, but he would just play queen g4, queen e2, maybe a queen trade. Should still be winning, but doesn't feel optimized in any sense. Let's play queen to c1. Actually, no, the queen c1 doesn't work because the queen covers a3. So let's play bishop g2. Okay, we do get queen to h2, queen to e3. Okay, we finally drop the a2 pawn. Obviously, he's hitting c2, which is quite annoying. So I have to defend c2. Queen to e2 drops f4, so let's play queen d2. Okay, I'm feeling pretty restricted in this position. We get queen to b1. This is really uncomfortable, this idea of queen g1 check. So I wonder here if like king to f3 is forced, basically. So that there's no more checks on the table. Okay, we do get king to g8, so I'm assuming that that neutralized whatever he was trying to do. Let's play, I really need to get this queen into the game. It's doing diddly squat back here. Let's play c4. Okay, king to h7, sure. If the idea is to walk the king in, I would be blown away. But in the meantime, what about bishop f2, bishop g3? Seems kind of slow. What about bishop f2 and then just queen c3? I could be looking for mate. Let's play that. I need to play a little bit more actively than I have been. Wait, bishop f2, queen h5, king e3. I should be fine there. Okay, we get queen to a1, right, stops queen to c3. I'm at least starting to see the reasoning behind some of his moves, which is quite a relief, to be honest. Okay, let's play knight to g3 to cover h5 with the idea of bringing the queen out and at least delivering some checks, maybe bringing the knight back in at some point. Okay, we get queen to a8. I'm very happy to see that he's retreating. I think queen to b4 here makes the most sense in terms of taking offense. Nice. King to g8. This is good. This is a good sign. Let's play queen to e7, just to activate the queen. Queen to h7, that's what we like to see. Obviously, I could trade off here. It would be a little bit sketchy to play, but I think I could win that still. So let's take. King takes. Obviously, the main idea here for him is to come in and just take all of my pawns, reminiscent of what I did to Martin. But I think I should be in time to play like f5, push all my pieces into his position, and somehow promote. I'd like to be somewhat precise in this, however. Let's play king to g4 first. Okay, king back. The idea was knight to f5 in case of check. Let's play bishop f3, the idea of e5. Okay, queen to a2, sure. If e5 takes, bishop e4, there's no check because the knight covers. If check on d1, if check on d1, the king walks forward. So let's play e5, takes bishop bishop e4 doesn't work because of takes. But I guess bishop e2 does work, so let's try that. Okay, queen to b2. I think I can just walk forward with the king. Knight to h5. If the queen comes back at any point, kind of scary, but I think it's survivable. Let's try that. Queen back to b7, right? Looking for checks on the king. What about knight to h5? Check, knight to f6. So what? Queen to d7, e6. Let's try that, knight h5. Whoa, queen to g2, okay. Let's play check. Okay, king to g7. Obviously, these guys are skewered, so knight to g4 would make a lot of sense here. Play knight to g4. Okay, queen to h3 pins the knight. There's no way to take advantage of that pin, so I'm not really sure that that's worth anything. I think I can just push my pawns now. Check, king to e5. Maybe king to e4 here is a little bit better. King to e4, if check, bishop f3. And that way I kind of have my kings behind the pawn. Okay, queen to h1. Let's play bishop to f3. Go ahead and block the queen. Counterattack. Queen goes back to h5, which super precarious because now anywhere this knight moves, if it can give check, it can pick up the queen. All right, this is kind of the slow way to do it, but what about d4, d5? Obviously, e6 is a little more tempting to get the bishop into play. I've sold myself just by explaining it. Let's play e6. Queen to g6 is check. f5 drops g5, but it should still be winning. Queen takes g5. There's no way into the position to give check, so maybe bishop check and then f6. Let's give that a try. King to f8, and I think we just need to push our pawns at this point. The only problem with f6 is queen g6 gives check. So king moves out of the way. Queen takes, but just check, and anything is winning there. So f6, queen to h5, doesn't even try for check. And let's see. Obviously, the issue is that this light squared bishop is blocked in. So one of these two guys has to move at some point. What about, oh no. I was going to say, what about bishop c5 check? What about e7 check? King moves, and we're almost promoted, but we would need a check from the light squared bishop. If something like king to e3, queen check, king back, I don't see how he would actually stop that. So let's try that out. Check. King back to e3. Nice, queen to h8, we just give check. Promote, lose the bishop, whatever. In fact, this pawn even promotes on a dark square, so we can just go for that promotion. Okay, we'll play king to f7. Force the way for the pawn. Fancy little check to go ahead and promote. Check. And I don't want to stalemate him, so we'll just do this the slow way. Bring the knight over. Check. Check. And mate. All right, let's go ahead and give him one more queen. All right, he's back now with 5 queens in total. The only difference I see here, as opposed to the last game, is that now he has 3 queens to probably actually play with, and then 2 that he can use to clear the way if necessary. So I don't think our strategy last time was bad at all. Let's play knight to f3 again. Queen to e7. I think that's the same thing he played last time except with the other queen, so let's play knight to c3. Queen to g4. I was going to say rook to g1 because that was the original idea, was rook g1, rook b1. But if rook g1 and he just sacks, what then? I have to take with this pawn because this pawn is pinned. Queen comes down through g1, that rook is vamoosh. So that's not going to cut it. And the other issue is that this knight is pretty close to gone. I mean, obviously it's not optimal in this specific position, but takes, queen takes, and this pawn is pinned. So my king is just kind of feeling stuck in the center right now. Let's play e3 instead. Okay, ooh, queen sacrifice. Queen takes g2. If takes, rook to f1, drops the knight, but it's probably the only move. Queen takes f3. I don't have to lean into the queen trade, but it's almost forced. I think I have knight to e2 though. Knight to e2 might actually stop the queen trade. So let's play that. Knight to e2. Queen takes f1. I can just take. Queen takes h2. Oh. So obviously this is still the threat, but I can't actually play knight to g1 because queen takes. So I am... What, am I just screwed here, I think? Wow, that was quick. We're on move 7 right now. All right, let's play... I mean, there's nothing I can play to get out of this. If queen to e1, check. Knight here, check. King to e2. You know what? That's not so bad, actually. Oh, wait. Queen to e1, queen to h3 is mate. Oh my god, that's disgusting. There's another mate here along the diagonal, and if I play queen to e1 to allow for knight to g1, which stops queen to h1, I actually smother my own king. So just by giving this little check is mate. Wow, that's disgusting. Okay, we'll play into it anyways. And it took Magnus a total of 5 queens to defeat us. Let me give that just one more try. I know I did this last video as well, but I just want to give that one more try because obviously I didn't understand the strategy and I didn't realize my knight would get targeted so easily. So let's try that one more time. All right, we're back in the same position with 5 queens. There's no way in heck I'm going to play knight to f3, knight to c3 again after they basically got slaughtered. So let's try something different this time, maybe e3. Because this pawn being pinned was a big issue, and being able to put a knight in front of the king could actually help that. Play e3, queen to f7. I don't see that that's targeting anything. So I'll just play knight to e2 now. Queen to e7. Also, I don't think is targeting anything, so d3. So far, this is working okay. We're not pinned at least. We get queen to f8, which is obviously looking for mate. Or at least, king to e2. This is horrendous anyways. Which was the big plus of having the knight on f3. If I play f3 now, check. It's pretty annoying. I'd have to play king to e2. So what about knight to f4? Oh, knight to f4 is just free because the pawn is pinned. Ugh, disgusting. Okay, f3 is forced. There's the check. If g3 takes, losing this bishop, because even if I move, the other queen can dive in. So what about knight g3? Probably just takes, going for the rook. Okay, g3 seems better than that. So we'll play g3. Queen takes. I take. Queen to f2. I'll move out of the way. I don't know why I didn't accept the rook. You've got to be kidding me. What is that? Queen sacrifice? Queen takes e3. Yeah, the problem with this many queens on the board is you can just sacrifice anything, lure the king out, and it's game over. What happens here? If I take, there's no mate here, which is the natural move because the knight covers. Whoops, those are terrible arrows. The knight covers. So king takes. I mean, I'm not going to play back because queen f2 is mate, so I guess I'll just take. Queen to e6. I can't just return. Why queen takes e3? Martin, is that you? Martin, are you there? King to d2, what happens? Queen b4, c3? I don't know. He's going to have to mate me. Oh my god. That's ridiculous. Queen to f4 check. Are you kidding me right now? What, another? That's 2 queen sacrifices in the same sequence of moves. Takes, forces king to c3, and then I'm sure he's going to mate me because the queen covers the exit square. Obviously, this queen covered the e-file. That's why I couldn't move there in the first place. So king c3, check, just moves me over, and I'm sure there's mate there somehow. This is ridiculous. Takes, moves over, check, sure. The only move is king b3, and mate. All right, I concede. It took Magnus 5 queens to beat us. I'm happy we played again because we got to see a kind of crazy double queen sacrifice, even though we still got beat in 12 moves. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next one.